It's always great to catch up with trainer Jeremy Gask. Jeremy, we're only days away now from Royal Ascot. How's it feel?
Yeah, I'm excited. I have to say I'm looking forward to this meeting as much as I've looked forward to any.
Well, of course, you've been the Australian waving the flag for us in recent times over in the UK, and now you're being infiltrated by all these other imposters stepping out into your turf with the likes of Peter Moody, Luke Nolan, Paul Massara. How does it feel having a bit more competition?
Oh, it's terrific. I think it brings about the rivalry. There's been the ongoing words between the camps, so I think it's all great for racing, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. I just hope, Hortensia, I'm not hoping does that well, but of course Black Caviar, hopefully she can fly the flag, but I would be running against Hortensia, hence my hope that she doesn't perform at her best.
We'll talk about Medici Man shortly, but I just want to get your perspective on the overall theatre that's been going around since Black Caviar has arrived, the fanfare. Have you seen anything quite like it?
No, I haven't. It's been quite incredible, actually, and the English public, racing public, have really got behind her. I think there is a great appreciation of what she's done, and I guess some people are probably surprised and perhaps a bit put off by the amount of publicity that she has received, but I think it's all positive stuff, and gets racing on the right part of the pages.
All right, let's talk about Medici Man, who you've chosen to take its place in the King's Stand Stakes, the first of the big sprint races during the Royal Meeting. His recent form is somewhat mixed, but he does have proven form at Ascot down the straight course. So what are you expecting from him on Tuesday?
Yeah, look, we're probably throwing him in the deep end running in the King's Stand, but I think his form this year's probably been a little bit off what we would expect, but at the same time, I think he's had a couple of excuses. He's run on a couple of wet tracks. We've been forced to run him. He's a fairly gross horse who takes a bit of racing, and we had to run him a couple of times when it probably wasn't ideal. So I thought his last run at Newmarket was, he probably put the writing on the wall. I think the 6 at Newmarket was probably a touch of a test for him. So, the drop back to 5 at Ascot will suit him. He loves the place there too.
All right. What type of horse is he? What can we expect from him in the run?
I'd hope, the reason actually we've booked Luke to ride him is I think that he really suits that sort of rider. He suits the Australian style of riding where they can get horses travelling strongly on the bridle. There have been question marks about his will at the finish, and he does travel very strongly and perhaps doesn't always find what you'd expect. So I'm hoping Luke can have him travelling in behind the speed. He likes to be following a few, and you actually got to ride him for luck. And if he does see too much daylight, he doesn't tend to find the line as well.
What's his work been like in the lead up to the Royal Meeting?
Always works well. He's a lovely horse. He's he's a typical, what I would describe, an Australian sprinting type. Well muscled, good hind quarter, and travels well and can quick, and has got a great turn of foot when he does decide to let down.
And long-term proposition, I mean, is this just a throw at the stumps, or do you think he could be a legitimate player in some of the European feature sprint races this season?
Yeah, look, last year I think there were some people touting him as a King's Stand horse, and I think that was always my aim last year after he ran very well at Ascot. It is effectively a throw at the stumps at the moment, but last year I was pretty optimistic that this is where he would be, and I think, as I said, his run at Newmarket showed that he might just be coming right at the right time. But he's probably 40 or 50 to 1 for a reason. But that said, I think he may be slightly underestimated at the moment given his form. But we did know that he didn't love the wet tracks, and he does like a flat track, and he grows a leg at Ascot. So it is a strong King's Stand this year. There's no question people are sort of shying away from Black Caviar and the likes of Hortensia. If she turns up in the form that she was in Dubai, then obviously very hard to beat.
You mentioned Luke Nolan earlier on taking the ride. Have you had much experience with Luke in the past?
I haven't, other than obviously following what's going on, but he's a world-class jockey. He and the stable, Peter Stable, are in such great form. It wasn't hard to look when he, I found out, well, through you actually, I contacted him, managed to get that phone number and make the contact, so it was good.
You've also got High Standing set to run in one of the other big sprint races, the Wockingham, which is a handicap race. He wasn't too far behind Medici Man last start at Newmarket.
I thought he ran a belter. It was a great lead-up for the Wokingham, a perfect Wokingham trial. He sat well back and really hit the line hard. He's one who hasn't been with us for that long, And I felt 2 runs ago at Newmarket he perhaps put the writing on the wall with a terrific run with not getting a lot of luck, and then I probably erred and ran him at the wrong place at Chester last time, so would pay to put a line through that. But Newmarket last week was impressive. You know, I think Medici Man probably struggles to quite get home at a place like Ascot over 6, whereas I know that high standing, he's won the Wokingham previously for William Haggis, so a few years ago, and he's been in the wilderness for some time, but he's just given an inkling that he might be getting back to some good form again.
With him sort of moving forward, are you still sort of working him out a little bit, or is he a horse that you've pretty much been able to get on top of?
No, look, he has taken a bit of working out. He is a bit of a quirky customer, or he's had a reputation of being a quirky customer. He isn't the easiest horse to get worked home, and hence the move came about. Tony Bloom owns him, and he originally had him with William, and the move came mainly because the horse had seemed to have lost a bit of interest. His form had waned, and it was just to try and spark a bit of interest back in him that the move. And he has taken a little bit of working out, but I think now he's another horse that needs to be ridden with cover and being delivered fairly late as well.
What about Prince of Burma, who had a nomination for the Royal Hunt Cup? He
will either go. He may run. We entered today for the Buckingham Palace. That's probably the more likely option for him over 7. Whichever one he gets into, I think he'd love Ascot too. He's probably got the job ahead of him. He'd need to find a bit, but he's one that's come to us this year as well, and has been in good form. But I would hope he'd get in the 7 furlong race rather than the Hunt Cup. I think that would be more his go.
And Soulless Minerva, who had also a nomination for the Wokingham?
Look, she won't go. She was one who we took a bit of a punt and saw whether she would measure up in that sort of grade, and she probably hasn't gone to the level we needed her to go to. She's had a wind operation, but hasn't quite measured up to where we'd hoped. But we'll probably save her.
All right, how excited are you about this week ahead?
Can't wait. It is one of the great days racing, or a great week's racing. I have to say, it's obviously the main carnivals I'm used to, the Spring Carnival and Royal Ascot, and we've got a lot of friends and family actually coming over this year. I'd like to think they're coming to see us and the horse, and our horses, but I think Black Caviar's got a fair bit to do with that. David Jolly arrives. I pick him up at the airport on Monday morning, so there's going to be a fair Australian contingent, and it is very exciting. I think the publicity behind this mare has been phenomenal.
Enjoy the week.
Great, thanks, Shane.